Some of you old enough to know that I'm a Christmas seal. This all started when my friend Eddie wanted to hide his Christmas presents for his children at my apartment. It was back in my younger days when I lived in an apartment. He brought over two big boxes, and when he uncrated them, it was two of those little bitty cars for children, like a Barbie car or something. It was a little plastic car with a battery, and they could drive it around. Well, Eddie gets it over and he says, I wonder how fast these things will go. And I said, well, let's race them. And so we took them outside and into the parking lot of the complex, which was flat, till it got to my apartment, which is on the very end. And then the driveway went downhill. With my toe on the gas pedal, and you use the heel for the brake. And Connie, my girlfriend, she would walk along beside us to make sure no cars pulled out in front of us and to be ensured who won the race when it got to my apartment, which was the deadline. Well, when we got to my apartment, I heard a loud pop. Eddie was in the lead, and I could see a cable dropped out from the bottom of his car, and he picked up a little speed and went down the hill. There was a little pop in my car too. I didn't feel anything hit the ground, but my car picked up a little speed. But Eddie was ahead. Now you need to get the lay of the land. As you went down the driveway, you could turn to the right at the main road and you go up the mountain. But if you turn to the left, you went down the mountain. And you went down the mountain for a long straightaway, and then you hit a switchback. Whoosh! That's where the road goes. A lot of people don't live in the mountains, don't know about switchbacks. We hit that switchback, and then you head down, still going downhill, to a left-hand turn that drops into a vertical curve. Now, a lot of people that don't live in the mountains don't know what a vertical curve is. A vertical curve goes like this. Like a U, a vertical curve. You dropped into the vertical curve, and when you came out of the vertical curve, you were headed straight down a hill that went to a hairpin curve. Now, a hairpin curve is kind of like a switchback, only you go into it, and it switched back, and then you got these other curves coming, and you go, whoosh, whoosh, and if you went down that way, you headed into the main street of Gatlinburg, which was not a really safe place to be in a plastic car. But anyway, I guess we mostly drive in plastic cars now, but they're not made for 3-year-olds. Anyway, Eddie got to the end of that driveway and turned to the left and yelled back at me, now we'll see how fast these things will go. We headed down the long straightaway with me in the rear. I cut to the inside as we went into the switchback, and we went into one of them Tokyo drifts. And then as we come out of the Tokyo drifts, I'm almost level with him. We hit the left-hand turn just a little bit, and I came on dead even with him as we dropped into the vertical curve. We're headed down that vertical curve, and down at the bottom of the hill, there was a puddle of water, probably left over from a rainstorm. It just hadn't dried up yet. When Eddie's car hit that puddle, sparks flew. Eddie went and his hair stood up on end and sparkled. We come up out of that hill, and I looked over, and Eddie went again, and we come out of the hill. I was a little bit ahead of him. Every now and then I'd hear him go boom. We shot down that straightaway. Now I knew that going down and making that hairpin curve was not a good idea. I knew that if I went down that way, I'd be headed into Gatlinburg at a high rate of speed in a car built for a 3-year-old, and that was not where I wanted to be. I also knew that Eddie's mama didn't raise no fool. If I went straight at the hairpin curve, I would go right into the Stone Creek Baptist Church parking lot, and that was my goal. Stone Creek Baptist Church was named that way because it was built out of stones that they found in the creek. I could hear Eddie behind me going boom, boom, As I went into the parking lot was full of cars. They were having a Christmas program. As I went up the handicap ramp, there were two Christmas trees. One on either side of the doors in the entryway that were wired together and had a piece of duct tape over them so nobody would trip over them. When my car hit that duct tape, it dumped me out. I rolled head over heels into the church, slammed up against the back pew, and was facing the door that Eddie was coming in. Now, what happened next happened in milliseconds, but to me it was played out in slow motion. As Eddie come up that handicap ramp, that cable he was dragging hit that duct tape, and his car just kind of exploded, throwing him forward. The Christmas tree lights began to glow really, really bright, and then they exploded, set the trees on fire. That brought my car into play, set it on fire. Eddie comes sailing out of this firestorm with his hair standing on end and sparkling, landed in the church floor just as the preacher said, and lo, an angel of the Lord appeared unto them. Eddie, he had just landed in a church, and all eyes were on him. He felt it was his turn to preach. Well, I mean, wouldn't you? Eddie said, "Fear not." But let me tell you, them folks was sore afraid. And that's Bible for flat scared. And they commenced to move. They moved out of that church. They headed toward the... Now, I've always been confused about what's the front of a church and what's the back. Because if you come in the front door of most churches, you're in the back. But they couldn't go out the door they came in because it was on fire. There was flames all over. The rocks, to this day, you can see scorches on the rocks. They moved toward that way, where later in the evening, they went out the way where later in the evening they would be handling snakes. They went out that way and they commenced to clean out that parking lot. Led by the preacher, I might add. Me and Ed stood there looking out at the flames, through the flames at the people departing. Now, years later, they still have a meeting there to celebrate the coming of the Christmas angel. Old timers get up and tell about the message that the angel gave them. But they don't ever say that there was really nobody there to hear the message, except for me. I heard the message. And they changed the name of the church to Stone Creek Fire Baptized Independent Baptist Church. I reckon when the Southern Convention found out about the snake handling, they removed them from the rolls. But after that, Eddie bought his kids an easy bake oven with a box of brownie mix. And as we stood there looking out through the flames, Eddie said something I'll never forget. The angel's message. And I impart it to you right now. Merry Christmas.